Sure. All right, let me know if I'm going too fast. I tend to talk kind of fast, but I wanted to give you as many examples as possible in the 20 minutes. So once you have everything set and students are, oh, this is kind of helpful too, just to kind of learn about learning styles in my students. I do really quick feedback, multiple choice questions. How do you learn best? How would you like your notes? Because in my AP classes, I actually have documents that I can share out with students. And so it's helpful for me to know if they have a printer at home where they can print their notes, or if they need me to print the notes for them, or if they have a digital device where they can download the notes and just annotate their notes. So this is a quick little, I can see, okay, how many kids have a color printer, how many kids actually need me to make copies for them. So I always do this at the beginning so that I know exactly how many sets I need to make for the students. So that just helps me. And this one I like. This card is actually an annotation card. So students learn to use the annotation tool, to use a text box to type the answer in the chart. Some kids couldn't figure that out, so they still typed it out. So I had to explain to them, oh, if you hit this tool, then it allows you to annotate and use a text box. So this is just kind of getting to know each other. Oh, this I really like, guys. For homework, I tell them to make a video of themselves, just kind of talking about themselves, their interests, extracurriculars. And that way, I watch those videos and it helps me learn their names more quickly, because then I have a face, because I don't have seating charts. I don't have their pictures until like way later. So you can see if I do the mass grader, and I watch these and I try to learn, their names this way over the weekend after the first week, because it takes me forever to learn their names. So this has been really helpful, like for a back to school activity for me. It's just to get to know my students. And the great thing about Skies, it has a multimedia function, right? So students who don't want to do video, I tell them, okay, if you don't want to do a video, you can just insert a picture. And I tell them this is not for anyone to see but me, which makes them a little bit more comfortable sharing things, right? So that's been really great for me for back to school activities.
Ms. Song, I have a question.
Sure.
Is this the only platform you use? Like, because we have Google Classroom, we have Synergy.
Right.
Is this the only platform that you use?
Thank you for that question. So our school uses Canvas instead of Google Classroom, which is very similar. This is the platform I use for class instruction. So instead of using Google Slides with lessons, I use Skies exclusively because it's interactive. So not only can I do my lessons, I can also immediately, have interactive questions and feedback. So I can show you a lesson. And then Canvas is used for additional assignments. So if I have like a paper assignment or a Google Doc assignment, I post that on Canvas.
Okay, thank you so much.
So those are the main two. So let me show you a lesson. And I don't have any lessons with student work yet for this year. So I'm going to go back to last year's lessons. And I wanted to show you let's start with AP Bio, because I think Latanya's here for more advanced stuff. So AP Bio, I have to go 21, 22. I'm going to go period 5. Okay. So again, you can see my table of contents is pretty much based on the units. And then each unit has weeks. And I wanted to show you this one, Unit 4B, Biotechnology. And then, okay, so biotechnology, this is how I do my lessons. So again, I start off with, the week. So this was second semester, week 2, and we're a block schedule. And here's an article with just the heading, just to kind of engage the students and have them, start thinking about biotechnology. So a man gets genetically modified pig heart in world first transplant. And so I asked the question, how do you feel about this type of transplant? Right. And there's a link to the article. And so kids respond to that. That's just kind of to get the brain juices flowing. And the cool thing about this is I can go to grades. I have two monitors, right? So on one monitor is what's projected and that's what kids see. On the second monitor, I will have the grades button. I will click on the grades button. And as soon as students respond, I can see their answers. So I love having that dual monitor because as soon as, they write their responses, I'm like gauging, okay, this is how kids feel about this topic. And then this is also really good for co-calling. So I can, say, hey, Dunstan, you had a really good insight. Can you share your card? And sometimes I have really shy students. So I will let them know ahead of time, okay, for this particular question, Fernanda, I'm going to call on you. Okay, so, she's preparing an answer and she's allowed to kind of consult her neighbors, her peers, so that she has a little bit more confidence before I call on her with an answer that's ready to go. And I'll be like walking around as they're preparing their answers and then just make sure, especially the really anxious kids, they'll get feedback ahead of time. Does that make sense, Latanya?
Absolutely. I like
Yeah,
that.
so the thing is I can do written feedback, but that takes a while. So as soon as I have the answers appear on my second screen, I could say, Chandan, hey, that's a great idea, but what about this? So I will just like be speaking to the kids orally to get them to, go back to their card and maybe fix their answer or think about it differently. That is faster for me than having to like type out the answer for each kid. Sometimes I have the luxury of actually writing, but I just like saying like immediate feedback orally.
I really like that idea. Thank you.
Sure. I also sometimes allow students to work in groups. So, when they're coming up with warm-up questions, exit ticket, or what have you, to give them a little boost of confidence. Okay, now discuss it with your group before I call on somebody to respond. So this is, so let me show you some other things that I do with skies. So I really like this picture right here. It's very open-ended. We haven't talked about biotechnology, but like they're like, what is this, right? You have like glow-in-the-dark, like paws, hooves on pigs, glow-in-the-dark snouts. And that's just kind of to introduce the whole idea of biotechnology where you can insert genes from one organism and have them expressed in another organism. And that's the whole point of my lesson. So it's just kind of get some conversation going. And this is what I really like about Skies is you can insert YouTube videos and then have questions, related to those YouTube videos right there on the same platform. I use videos all the time. Kids and the kids like variety, right? If we just do question, answer, lecture, it gets boring really fast. So I use short video tutorials in between my lessons pretty much on a daily basis. And the questions are related then to the video. And then, of course, I had to insert something relevant about how COVID vaccines work. And then we get to our lesson. So now let's get into the notes. And in AP, we cover a lot of content. So what I like to do is I have tutorials. This I assign for homework, right? So this is what I assign for homework. And then I have the actual notes. Like I said, I have them printed out. And then in class, I have an iPad and I annotate my notes as I go. So you can see, oh, this is kind of ugly, but okay, let's show this one. So this is not, I don't open this card until after we finish the notes. So I'm going through these notes live in person on my iPad. So I share my iPad and I'm annotating these notes, and students are copying them onto their paper notes or their digital version. And then only after we're done do I turn on my completed copy in case students miss anything or if they're absent. Okay, so this is a live thing that I do in class. And I actually, because of the pandemic, I have all my lessons recorded. So these are my recorded lessons that students can watch in case they're absent. Or if something went too fast and they want to rewatch the lesson, they can just click on that and then they can rewatch my lesson. So everything's in one place for them. Like if they could pretty much do all of AP Bio at home if they needed to, because it's all here. So that allows me to cover a lot of ground. And again, I have a lot of supplemental videos that I show as I'm teaching. And then this is where I stop. This is where the lesson ends. And I say, okay, complete study guide 1 and 2 and finish cloning worksheet. And this is the stuff that's on Canvas or Google Classroom. Any questions on how I use Skies for my advanced class?
I really like the way that you have it organized for students to, like you said, they're studying at their own pace. They have an opportunity to go here, and then for the culminating activity, they use another platform. Like for us, we use Schoology. So I use them both interchangeably, but like some things I just need to put in Schoology, but Skies is more of a support for my
Right.
school. I also want to have a question about how do you differentiate instruction for your AP classes versus your other just regular bio classes?
So I'm going to show you a similar lesson that I do in my regular bio next. I need a lot more support in my regular bio. So you see in these, it's a lot of like lessons, and supplemental videos. But in my regular bio, it's interspersed with like guided questions. So I'll stop the lesson and then I'll have guiding questions, and then we'll move on with the lesson. So let me see if I can show you my regular bio class, NGSS bio class last year. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay. Okay, so this is not DNA. I can show you the DNA, but I just wanted to show you some of the supports I do in terms of just quick assessments. So we're reviewing aerobic and anaerobic respiration. And for that, I like to show videos with some questions. And then I have a bunch of questions actually on Skies. So these could be multiple choice questions. And this will give me immediate feedback. Oh, this is how my kids are doing. And if, there's a lot more red, then I pause and I review that question with my students. But this is showing me, oh, okay, they're getting it, right? And I do go over this with them after they complete it. And then again, we do like, in this case, I think we went straight to an assignment, but let me show you. Oh, okay. Let me show you what I do here also. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the worksheets that you can do on Skies. So you can actually import any worksheets, any PDF, and download it as a Skies card. So instead of assigning a Google Doc, you can have something like this. Let me show you. So I converted Google Doc into a PDF, and then I imported it into Skies. And then I had kids just answer the questions directly on Skies. So let me show you. And again, this kind of makes the workflow better for me rather than going back and forth between platforms. If we're doing this as classwork, it makes more sense for them to do it on Skies rather than have to go back to, Canvas and then find the link to the Google Doc, right? It's right here for them. And what's also really nice is I can grade these really quickly. I don't know if you guys tried this. When James showed me the worksheet grader, I was like, this is so cool. It like grades things so quickly. And so I already graded these, but so I can't show you how this works. But basically you just highlight question number 1 and you'll see all the students' question 1 responses. So you can like mass grade it really quickly. And so this is beautiful for me because I can see how the kids are doing on the classwork without toggling back and forth between platforms. So if you're not familiar with worksheets, I highly recommend that just for in terms of workflow in the classroom. That works really well for me. So a lot more support in terms of asking more questions, guided questions for my regular bio kids, as opposed to an AP, we just do a lot of lessons and then, I give them the assignment at the end of class. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, so let me go and find this similar lesson that I do in bio, protein synthesis. And also, guys, if you have new teachers coming in, I had a first-year teacher last year, fresh from his credentialing program. When I introduced him to Skies and he saw all the lessons that were already done for him, he was just like so exhilarated because, it's scary coming in as a new teacher without any lessons at all. And so having this for new teachers was, it was just such a great support. And this year, it's his second year. Now he's doing all sorts of things with Skies, and I'm actually using his stuff to supplement my lessons. So he's coming up with really creative things on Skies, and that's why we're sharing our lessons so we can see what we're doing and then easily copy and paste the cards between his class and my class. So this is wonderful for first-time teachers, and pretty much all the new teachers in science have adopted Skies. All right, so let me show you protein synthesis. Where'd it go? Here it is. And then week 13. Okay, so remember I said we're standards based. So with my NGSS bio, I always preface our units or our lessons with the actual standard. So here's the standard, that's the focus for the lesson. And then again, I have the same kind of engaging cards that I did for AP Bio. And then I even, get to show them this clip from Gattaca about designer babies, and we talk about it. And so again, you can do the grades tab to see what kids are thinking about designer babies, about their physical traits and whether or not they would change them if they could. And then this is how I do notes. Again, I don't turn this on until after the lesson. So this is a live thing that we do in class. And then it's really nice for students who miss anything or they're absent to go back and copy the notes on their own.
I have a question. When you say you do them live in class, what does that mean?
So I have an iPad that shows this document, and I share my iPad, and then I fill these in as I explain the lesson.
How is the student doing the lesson?
I give them the paper. So all of their notes are paper notes. or
Okay,
they have a notebook, and then they just kind of follow along.
thank you.
Sure. And let me show you another, see, this is really great too. Something like this, again, the annotation tool is really cool because you can see the way that students answer. I think I graded most of them, but the way the students can answer these is they can actually use the annotation tool and type their answers, their responses, rather than having to do it on a piece of paper. You can do it on Skies. So the workflow is, it gives you more options. You know, I don't use a whole lot of paper. I do for assignments because they can then take it home and, you know, finish it. But I like to get everything on Skies as much as possible, especially for my regular bio kids. Just because then it's just, you know, going back and forth, it's just kind of a headache. But so anything, most of the things that we do in class is done on Skies. With some exceptions. I do have like some worksheets that are hard to transcribe into Skies. So, you know, I just let them know this assignment is on Canvas. And then I either hand them the copies or they go straight to Canvas and do the digital version. Oh, one other feature, guys. This year I have a lot of English learners in my regular bio class. So one wonderful feature that Skies allows you to do is the translator. So for my Spanish speakers, I will turn this on, and then any cards that are not worksheets, so any cards where you actually have things typed, so something like this, how is this possible? The students can select Spanish, and then the how is it possible will appear translated in their language, in their Spanish language. So I'm definitely using that for my English learners. I have one kid that is brand new to the country, and so I think that feature will be really helpful for him. All right, so I think that's pretty much all I wanted to show. I didn't want to like do too much because I know it's kind of difficult to process. Do you guys have any questions about any of the cards or lessons about Skies?
It was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you adding on that EL component because that is so critical.
Yeah.
That option is there for students.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they've thought of everything. They actually do, they use Skies as teachers, and that's one of the things I really appreciate about the founders is they actually use Skies and they teach a summer session with students. So they know what it's like to be in the classroom. They know what it's like for students, and so they keep adjusting things, and it's very teacher-centered. You know, they're not business centered. I think they're really teacher focused. So I do appreciate that about them. All right. So I think that's it for us. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. All right. We'll return back to the. Yay, you can do it. It's once you get started with it, I mean, the initial step is a little daunting, but it's pretty it's actually really user friendly. And they walk you through it too. So the support's been great. I mean, I have James's phone number, and I'm just texting him with questions, and their feedback is pretty immediate. So, all right, I'll see you guys back in the classroom.